Hey, this is Lacey, your Las Vegas gal, here with my good friend Trace Askew from the Cerrone Group. We did a really great video, I thought. A lot of people really liked it. A couple of weeks ago, we were talking about how to buy a house from afar. Basically, how to relocate before you relocate, I guess.
Yeah.
So we talked a lot about, what the process looks like, how you should travel, the time of the week that you should come into town, and just how we work on your behalf. Now we're gonna get into the process of what happens next. What the heck happens after I put in an offer and I go home and I cross my fingers hoping that that house will become mine. So we're gonna go through that step-by-step process for you now, just to kind of educate you on what the heck to expect when you work with us to buy a house from afar. Check it out. Okay, before we start about the next steps, we want to get into who's going to be involved in this process. So there are basically three companies or three entities, if you will, that are going to be involved. You've got us, you've got the escrow and title company, and then you have your lender if you're actually getting a loan to purchase the home. If you're buying cash, it's just going to be down to two. So we work with the title and escrow company to really clear your home, make sure there's no liens, no weird stuff on the back end that you're not aware of financially that might affect you in the future. We work with your lender, and you're going to be working with your lender, which we'll talk about in a minute, to finalize your loan documents, get everything dialed in, and make sure we're on track to get you into the home on the date that we promised. And then you're going to be working with us on inspections and a lot of all this repairs and things like that. So we'll walk through what those look like, but we want you to know who we're talking about when we mention those three entities. All right, kick it off. So what's the first thing that happens after your offer is accepted, you've agreed upon a price?
So once you're in contract, the first thing that's going to happen is that escrow or title company is going to reach out to you to coordinate wiring funds for your earnest money deposit, which is basically sort of like your good faith deposit, showing that you're serious about purchasing the home. That amount kind of varies from home to home. Sometimes it's around 1%, sometimes more, sometimes less. But they will reach out to you to get that wire transaction done. Something to know about that is that if you are still here when you are trying to wire that money, if your bank does not have a local branch here, it can be a little tricky. Personally, for myself, that's what happened to me. And I had to jump through a lot of hoops in order to get past all the security features that the bank has. They want to make sure that it's not a fraud situation.
Yeah. So
try to find out ahead of time if there is a bank here, and if not, find out exactly what you'll need to do, or if it's even possible to make that transaction over the phone.
I think it's too important to say that a lot of people bring their checkbook and they're all excited about writing that check. That's kind of not really the way things are done anymore. Wiring is much more preferred. It's a little bit more secure. And if you're writing a check, we have to wait 10 days for that check to clear before we can actually enter into escrow. So we prefer bank wires. Stay really close in contact with us, or your realtor, to make sure that you're getting the right information for that bank wire, because there's a lot of bank fraud that we don't want you to be a part of. So next thing on the list, and this is really our first step in the process of getting you started, is we have a very short window of time, sometimes 7 days, sometimes 10, sometimes 15. It just depends on what we've negotiated. But that time frame is the time that protects your earnest money deposit. So what we want to do is we need to jump in head first and start to kick the tires of the house, make sure it's not a lemon that you're buying. We want to have inspections done. We want to make sure there's no leaks in the walls, all the things that need to be checked and confirmed on your behalf while you're away. So we handle a lot of that for you. So step one, day one, we're ordering an inspection for your home, and we're hoping it'll be done within a couple of days.
Yeah, we try to get it done as quickly as possible.
Yeah. We work with some of the best inspectors in all of Nevada. We're really proud of our partners who we work with when it comes to inspections, because we know that they're looking out for the best interest of our clients. What would you say are some things that people assume about inspections that might be good for them to know?
Well, one really good thing to keep in mind is that the inspector's job is to find every teeny tiny, even cosmetic flaw about the home. So even if the home is brand new, the inspector is still going to find something and put it on the report. That doesn't mean that the home is poorly constructed or that you shouldn't buy it. So just know that no matter the condition of the home, there is going to be something to pop on that report. Hopefully it's nothing major, but don't expect to get a completely clean report. And a house can be inspected 3 times by 3 different inspectors, and they're all going to find something different.
Yeah, and they want to justify it because you do pay for that. So that's something to keep in mind. You've got a couple of expenses that'll happen after you send that earnest money. The inspection is one of them, and they can range anywhere between $400 to $600 depending on the size of the home, sometimes more if it's a really, really big house. But the other thing that I think is a big misconception is a lot of people assume that if you get a report of repairs needed, that the seller is required to fix them. Not even close.
Nope.
So it doesn't mean they won't. Most sellers are really easy to work with and they're willing to do a little bit or do, those types of things, but do not under any circumstances expect or think that people are going to go, oh, no problem. I'll just write you a check for a brand new roof, or no problem. I'll get you that new fridge because this one's leaking. No, it's not going to happen that way. So
yeah, it's definitely something to keep in mind. We will do our best to negotiate and get the best thing for you as we're representing you. Yeah. But it is ultimately up to the seller to decide what they're going to pay for or what they're going to repair.
And it doesn't always mean that the seller's being stingy or rude or being a butthead when they say, no, I'm not going to fix anything. They're doing what they need to do on their side of the fence, just like you are. You're nickel and diming. You're pushing down all of your expenses, trying to make the most money on their side. You're trying to spend the least amount of money. So we're kind of in these weird opposite areas and they're working against each other. That's where we come in. So just know going into it, if we say, hey, when this inspection report comes back, we're going to walk you through it. We're going to explain all the items on there that as best we can. We're not inspectors, but we do this every day, so we kind of know what we're doing. And we will give you a guiding kind of light to follow when it comes to what types of things you should and should not be asking the seller to repair for our best possible outcome in those negotiations.
Yeah, it's kind of like a game of picking your battles.
Yeah.
You want to ask for the really important things and maybe be willing to give and take on some of those small issues.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next steps after we've gone through the inspection process, your lender will order the appraisal of the home. And this is basically what they do and what the bank does to protect themselves and make sure that you're not overpaying for the house.
Yeah.
A lot of people get kind of wrapped up in the appraisal and worried about it, but we're here to tell you it's really nothing for you to worry about. We actually are not involved in the process at all, and that also goes for the agent on the other side of the deal because we can't be influencing their decision.
Right.
So the lender orders it. The appraisal is a neutral third party that will go out and decide the value of the home. And they come back with their decisions. Most of the time, it's not an issue. Every once in a while, it can come back where the home is valued at a little bit less than maybe what you've agreed to pay on it.
Right. And that's a moment where we come into play again, right? It's a negotiation moment for us to where, say you're offering $300,000 and it comes in at $290,000. That's a moment where everything comes to a grinding halt. Mm-hmm. The appraiser and the lender will get the report and contact the other agent, not us, and ask them to prove why they were confidently pricing the home at that $300,000 mark or whatever you're agreeing to pay. If they cannot provide comps to showcase, here's another house down the street that was just like this one that sold for $300,000, then they might be in a position where they have to lower the price to the $290,000, which is a good thing for you. Mm-hmm. The other thing that can happen is, and actually I think this happened to someone I know who might be sitting on camera with me, you put in an offer on the home, we have the appraisal done and it comes in higher. That was actually a really nice surprise.
Yeah, so I always tell people, if the appraisal comes in low, then we start some more negotiation process. If the appraisal comes in higher than what you agreed upon, congratulations.
Don't say
you
a
have
word.
instant equity in your home. And the other good thing to know is that's not a time for you to panic. The seller's not going to come back and say, you have to give us more money. They don't get to know that. Yeah. You paid for that appraisal, and the only way that number is really shared with them is if it's an issue where it comes in lower.
So a lot of people are always worried too. Oh, what happens if I'm making $10,000 on the house and now all of a sudden I had those repairs they were going to do and now they won't do them? That's our job to protect you in that moment. And we work really closely with the lender to make sure that that is a private moment that you guys get to decide who gets to know that information. So it's really always a nice surprise when that does happen.
Yeah.
That is another thing I wanted to say before we finish up this section is appraisal is going to be another expense that you should anticipate. So again, anywhere from $300 to $500-ish. And again, that's coming from your lender, not directly from us.
Right.
Okay, next step in the process, we've worked through the appraisal. Everybody's great. We're happy with the appraised value. We're happy with the repair list. Everybody's excited about who's fixing what. Now we get to wait for the loan documents to be finalized. This is really kind of not in our wheelhouse. This is all the lender that you're working with, thank goodness, because I don't want to do anything to do with loans. But you should be prepared for quite a bit of back and forth and conversation, phone calls, emails, things like that with you and your lender. Mm-hmm. The most important thing to note is that those are very time sensitive items. So when you get an email or a phone call or a text message from your lender, you need to jump on it and stay on top of it.
Yeah, it definitely is important to get them what they need as soon as possible because everybody's working with timelines and there's a lot of moving parts happening behind the scenes. You may get calls daily or emails daily or several times a week with them needing different documents or just any numbers, just information that they might need. And it's really important in order to keep everything happening in a timely manner, that you get them those documents or that information as quickly as possible.
I think another thing to mention just about the loan docs and the loan process in general is, things do change during the course of a 30-day or 60-day, whatever timeline your escrow timeline will be. So it's okay if the rates go up or down, or you change how much you're going to put down on the house, or you've decided to apply some funds from a gift that you've received, or whatever might happen. It's okay. Change does happen. Things do change during the process. The biggest thing for you is to always stay in touch with your lender. Please don't go buy a boat. Please don't go buy a new house. Please don't go spending any money while we're in escrow. They're going to say the same thing to you. But more importantly, communicate with them all day, every day. If something changes in your job status, if something changes in your home, if you had to spend money on a new water heater because it exploded and now you don't have that money in your bank account, whatever that looks like, the lender needs to know so that they can be prepared to make adjustments as need be going down the road.
Yeah, and there's no judgment on any of these changes that may happen. It's just important that you stay in contact with your lender. Hopefully it's somebody you have a good relationship with. We have really great people that we work with. We know that we can trust to take care of you. But as long as you're giving them all of the information that they need, most of the time, vast majority of the time, we can figure it out and work it out, whatever it is.
Okay, before we kick off the rest of our steps in this process, I want to just pause for a moment and talk about the fact that the first 2 weeks of your escrow, of getting inspections and getting appraisals and talking to us and talking about repairs, is going to feel like a whirlwind, and it's going to feel a little bit stressful. We're going to do everything on our part to keep it non-stressful, but the reality is you're buying a house and it's a big expense, and we expect there to be some stress. So, lots of communication is ideal, but that first 2 weeks is really going to be zany and crazy. And then after that, it gets kind of quiet. We pull back a little bit and start doing what we need to do behind the scenes. It's not as much one-to-one. And then as we get into the final week or so of the process, then we'll be in heavy contact again. And then what happens next?
So usually within about 3 days of when you're actually closing on the home, we will do the final walkthrough. We'd love to have you here present to do it in person, but if that's not possible, it's something we can do, not technically for you, but we can take a video, very detailed video, to show you the condition of the home. This process is to make sure that the home is in the condition that you agreed upon, and also to make sure, as sort of like a last check, that any repairs that were agreed upon were completed. We will also get receipts of the work that was done from the contractors that did it, but we also will just walk through and make sure nothing was damaged, all the appliances that are supposed to be there are there, and all of that stuff is good to go, and that will happen really just a couple days before you close on the home. So it's very exciting. Yeah,
that final week gets a little bit kind of zany again, but I think it's building to a fun excitement. The walkthrough happens like she was just talking about. You're getting some final documents from the lender, a few days in advance. You're signing off going, oh my God, that's really my payment. Oh my goodness, that's really what I got to bring to the closing table. This is crazy. Another really, really important part after we finish this amazing walkthrough, and we're going to check the boxes and be stoked again about the house, is that we are going to make sure that you've got your paperwork in alignment, you've got an appointment to sign your papers, and we'll talk about that in a second here, because a lot of people assume they have to actually physically be here in order to sign away the money and do their thing and get their keys, but let's tell them actually what's true and what's not true.
So of course we'd love to be here at the table with you, but again, if it's something that's inconvenient or just not possible, it can be done remotely from wherever you happen to be in the country. So if it's a cash deal, sometimes things can just be signed electronically with no issue. Otherwise, in kind of a normal escrow situation, they can actually send a mobile notary who will go to you where you are, maybe at your old house or just wherever is convenient to you, and you can sign all your papers and do it that way without even having to come in.
Yeah. And so if you actually physically come here to town, what'll happen is we would want you to wire the final funds that are due to the closing officer and to the lender before you actually make that trek out here. We don't want any issues with wiring funds while you're here. Even if your bank is here, we don't want you to do it here. We would prefer you do it there where you're from. And then honestly, it's just a matter of getting that walkthrough done, signing those final papers, wiring those funds, hopefully before you arrive, and then waiting for the home to be recorded with the county. There's a big misconception about closing and when you close and when you get your keys and all of that. Should we tell them about that?
Yeah, so different states do it differently. And this was one that was a big surprise for me when I bought a house here. I assumed, just like when I bought my home in Maryland, that as soon as we're at the table signing the papers, somebody drops the keys in my hand and I'm going my way to go into my new house.
Yes.
Here, it does not work that way. So you are going to sign all your papers, and once everything has been finalized with that, then the title company will release to record with the county. And until the deed is recorded with the county, you can't have those keys, unfortunately. But
and it's a really hard day waiting.
I know, it is. We're all checking our watch and refreshing our email a million times to find out when it happened.
Yeah.
But once it is recorded, the escrow company will let everyone know, and then we can get you those keys.
Yeah.
And usually, hopefully, it happens the same day you sign your papers. The earlier in the day you sign, the better your chances are for getting the keys that day.
Yeah.
But if not, it's usually no later than the next day.
Yes, and sometimes we'll have you sign paperwork in advance, like a day before or even 2 days before. So the date of closing of escrow is the date that we've all agreed upon. The lender's aware of, the title company, the other agent, the sellers. It may not be the same day, but regardless, whatever that day is the day that they do that releasing to record. Sometimes we get an immediate response, hey, congrats, an hour later, this house is yours. And sometimes it'll run into 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night that we're not quite receiving
and we're all
the
biting
updates.
our nails. And
Yeah, so I guess a good piece of advice for you if you are looking to relocate and you're like planning that move, we're closing this date, we want to be there that day, awesome, we love that. What we need you to do is plan for a day or two on the front side and the back side as a buffer with a hotel room or staying with a friend or family, because
just in case
you might not have anywhere to go. The other thing that would be a good tidbit is please do not have things shipped to the house directly. We are here, you can ship to our homes and we can figure out how to get those to you if you need, but please don't have anything shipped to the home. Until the home is in your name with the county, we want to be very careful with anything that's shipped or belonging. The other thing that we have a lot of times happens is people will plan movers to arrive. They'll plan for, moving in day is the day we get our keys. It's not, okay? It's absolutely not. It should probably be the next day or that evening. So please do yourself a favor and plan accordingly. Give yourself that extra buffer of at least 1 day. And the same thing goes for like setting up utilities and all of that stuff. We'll help you with that. We'll give you a list. We'll help you do the process, but you want it done in advance so that you actually have gas and hot water and energy, and you can be home when the Cox cable comes out to set up your internet. So I don't know, I feel like moving here from out of state is scary enough, so we really do a lot on our side to try to help you feel secure and safe and happy throughout the process. It's our goal for you to arrive with a smile, because when you don't, it makes it really hard for us to hand those keys over and give you an awkward hug, right? Nobody wants that awkward hug, so help us not be awkward. And I would say, I don't know, any other tidbits you can share from moving?
I would say, just like we mentioned earlier about keeping in close contact, if you have any specific dates or things that you have to hit, maybe furniture coming from another state or even another country, please communicate those dates to us so that we can help you and help try to accommodate all of that so that there's no surprises.
If you like this video and you want to see more of this awesome stuff and you think my awesome friend Trace here is amazing like I do us a favor, comment below, like the video, let us know what else we might, have missed, or what other kinds of videos like this you might want to see. Otherwise, I think Trace has a link in the bio, if I'm not mistaken, for her, or in the description, for her amazing channel. So do us a favor, go ahead and click that and follow, like, comment, subscribe, do all the fun stuff. Otherwise, I'm happy that we did this video. I'm happy she's here and she could share her experience with you, and we hope this helped. We'll see you soon.
Bye.